Okay, today I'm going to show you how to make Droewors. The first thing that you do is you get your meat trimmings together. If you want to save time, just go to your butcher and ask for beef mince, 80-20, 80% meat, 20% fat. And make sure that they use body fat, not kidney fat. Kidney fat, in the end of the day, is a lot harder and it's not exactly a mouth in your mouth experience, especially when it's dry. Body fat is a lot softer. Okay, now we're going to start. You've got your meat, your 80-20. Okay. Always use a plunger because there's one thing that you don't want is your fingers trapped inside this mince. Now your meat's minced, and what we're going to do now is we're going to spice the meat. The first thing that you do is make sure you've got a reasonably accurate kitchen scale, and make sure that whatever container you put your spice in, you take the weight off. For this demonstration, I'm using pre-bought spice, pre-mixed. You can buy it at basically any meat company. Some of them have got up to 10 different flavors of dry meat. For this, we're going to weigh out 120 grams. Now what we need to make sure is get a big enough container for you to be able to mix all the meat and the spices together, and also the Worcester sauce and the vinegar that we're also going to use 50-50. Okay, as you see, I've gotten a bigger bucket. I must judge the size of the other one. So another tip, get a big enough bucket. Now what we do now is we put in our spices. Don't mix it yet. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take about 100 ml of Worcester sauce and 100 ml of vinegar. This is already pre-mixed 50-50. Now what you do is you start mixing it. And this is something that needs to be done thoroughly. And always mix with your fingers like this, because it aerates the meat and spreads the spices more evenly. The secret to anything that you make, any manufactured meat product, is always make sure that you mix it well. Okay, now that you've made sure all the spices, everything is mixed very well, let it rest for about an hour or two for the spices and the meat properly integrate. What we're going to do now is we're going to put it into our wors filler. It's got a nozzle here. Always make sure that you push the meat down properly so it doesn't form any air bubbles. Okay, here, this is your sheep casings. It's a natural casing. We normally use either the size 22 or the size 24 for Droewors. The first thing that you do with your casings is when you buy it, you'll see they're like dry, but they're also packed with salt. The first thing that you do is you take it out of the packet, you unknot it while it's got the salt on it. Once you've got all the knots and stuff out, what you do then is you rinse it in clean water, and then after you rinse it, you lay it into clean water and let it stand for about an hour, and rinse it again, put in fresh water. These ones already been prepared, as you can see, clean. What I like to do with the casings, I open it. It's a very, let's just say, difficult. And then what I do is I put a little bit of water inside the casing and just put a cloth down here. And what I also like to do is before you start stopping your wors or pumping your wors, always wet your rubber seal. Because if it's not wet, what can happen is it can tear while you're busy with your wors. Now before I start, what I like to do is I get the wors just to the end of the funnel, just before it comes out. It just makes putting the casing on a lot easier. Normally I put the whole casing on, but that one started becoming a bit dry at one point, and if I kept threading it on, it would have just broken. Now what you do is with your one hand, you're going to control how much you're pumping, with your other hand, turning the handle. You control your speed with this hand. Always make sure that you fill your casing perfectly without any air bubbles, and fill it to capacity. Like I said, rather go slow than go fast. Have another bucket on hand just to put your wors in when you finish making it. Okay, time for the next casing. Okay, we're done with the wors. It was only 4.5 kilos. Now we are almost ready to hang it. Now to hang Droewors to dry, you either need like a little cabinet with fans, or you need to put it in a dark place where insects and stuff like ants, flies can't get to it, but it must also be a place where you've got a bit of a draft. Don't hang it where there's no wind, no draft, no air movement at all. Okay, and now I'm going to show you quickly how to hang it. Okay, here we've got a homemade bolt-on cabinet. It's got an extraction fan at the top, air holes in the bottom, and that's all you need. Just make sure that when you build it, it can seal properly. Like here we've got the rubber sealing tape, and that's it. And make sure that it's clean. So what I like to do is I like to use the hooks that you use for your bolt-on tube, and just hook the drywalls over like that. And I hook it. Make sure that it doesn't touch, that the air can go around it freely. The bolt-on cabinet is closed now. I'm going to see you in the next video. In the next video we'll do bolt-on and maybe even Droewors, and we'll go more into all things meat. Thanks.